I was staring at the shredded remains of my finalized business lease, scattered like confetti across my kitchen floor. I had spent 4 years saving every dime to open my own catering kitchen, and now it was literally torn to pieces. My older brother Chase stood across the island, casually sipping a glass of my expensive wine. "You are completely overreacting," Chase said, rolling his eyes. "It is just a piece of paper. You can sign another one next year. Right now, Chloe and I need you focused on our wedding menu, not some selfish little side project." I looked at him, feeling a cold numbness wash over my absolute rage. He had just deliberately sabotaged the biggest opportunity of my life, and he was acting like he did me a favor. I did not scream. I did not throw a punch. I just looked at the mess, realizing exactly who my family truly was. 6 months earlier, things were actually looking up. I was working 14-hour shifts as a prep cook while running my own small catering gigs on weekends. My ultimate goal was a commercial kitchen space downtown. My mentor, a ruthless but brilliant restaurateur named Marcus, had finally offered me a massive opportunity. "I have a corporate client looking for a new exclusive vendor," Marcus told me over coffee. "If you can nail a trial dinner for 50 executives in October, the annual contract is yours. It will fund your kitchen." I was ecstatic. I went home and immediately started drafting menus. I was so close to finally escaping the grueling restaurant grind. I just needed 3 months of pure, uninterrupted focus. But I had entirely forgotten that my brother Chase had just gotten engaged to Chloe, a woman who treated everyday life like a reality television show starring herself. That Sunday, my mother Helen hosted a family dinner to celebrate the engagement. I barely had time to sit down before Chase and Chloe dropped their bombshell. "We are doing a 3-day destination event in the mountains," Chloe announced, flashing a ring that cost more than my car. "It is going to be incredibly intimate. Just 300 of our closest friends." I asked how they could possibly afford that on Chase's part-time marketing salary. Chase smirked and patted our mother's shoulder. "Mom is helping us out. She is pulling $40,000 from her retirement fund. Family takes care of family, right?" Mom looked terribly anxious, but forced a tight smile. I was horrified. Mom was 2 years away from retiring, and they were bleeding her dry for a party. I tried to object, but Mom quickly shushed me, begging me not to cause a scene. The real ambush came right after dessert. Chase and Chloe cornered me by the sink while I was washing their plates. "So, we looked at caterers, and they are ridiculously overpriced," Chloe complained, examining her manicured nails. "We are putting you in charge of the food for the entire wedding weekend. It will be your gift to us." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. Feeding 300 people over 3 days would cost thousands in ingredients alone, not to mention the labor. "I cannot do that," I said clearly. "I have a massive corporate trial dinner the second weekend of October. I am booked solid." Chase narrowed his eyes, his smug smile dropping instantly. "We are getting married the second weekend of October," he said coldly. "You are my brother. You are going to cancel your little trial dinner and cook for us." I flatly refused, which triggered a campaign of absolute misery. For weeks, my phone blew up with angry texts from Chase and passive-aggressive voicemails from Chloe. They even sent Mom to my apartment to wear me down. "Liam, please," Mom pleaded, wringing her hands on my worn sofa. "Chase is so stressed. He says you are ruining Chloe's bridal season by being unsupportive. Just do the food. I will try to pay you for the ingredients eventually." I felt a sharp pang of guilt looking at her tired face, but I knew I could not fold. I told her I would gladly make a nice rehearsal dinner for 30 people as a compromise, but I was not canceling my corporate trial with Marcus. I needed this contract to secure my future. Mom left in tears, telling me I was breaking the family apart over money. To keep the peace, I agreed to cater their engagement party for free. It was 50 people, and I paid for the groceries out of my own pocket. I spent 2 days prepping complicated appetizers in my tiny kitchen, exhausted but trying to do the right thing. During the party, I was running around serving hot trays while Chase and Chloe mingled like royalty. I walked past a group of Chloe's friends just as she held up one of my crab tartlets. "It is fine, I guess," Chloe sighed loudly to her guests. "Liam means well, but his palate is very pedestrian. We are practically doing him a favor by letting him practice on us." I froze, my face burning with humiliation. I had spent $800 of my own savings to feed her friends, and she was openly mocking my food to look wealthy. I dumped the remaining tartlets in the trash, took off my apron, and walked straight up to Chase and Chloe. "I am done," I told them quietly. "I am not catering your wedding. Not for free, not for pay. Find someone else." Chase grabbed my arm, his face turning red. "You cannot back out now. The wedding is in 6 weeks. I pulled my arm away. "I never agreed to do it. I offered a compromise, and you treated me like the help. I am focusing on my presentation for Marcus." I walked out of the party, ignoring Mom crying in the hallway. I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. For the next month, I threw myself entirely into perfecting my menu for the corporate executives. I ignored the furious family group chats. I was finally choosing my own life. 2 days before my massive trial dinner, I went to the leasing office and finally signed the paperwork for my commercial kitchen space. I brought the folder back to my apartment, leaving it on the kitchen island while I went to shower. When I came out, Chase and Chloe were standing in my kitchen. Mom had given them my spare key. Chase was holding my signed lease. "You are actually choosing a stupid catering gig over my wedding?" Chase yelled, his face contorted in anger. "I cannot believe how greedy you are. You are putting money ahead of your own flesh and blood." Chloe crossed her arms, nodding in agreement. "We had to tell the venue we do not have a caterer because of you," she chimed in. "You are the most selfish person I know, Liam. You are literally ruining my life." I told them to get out of my apartment. Chase threw the lease folder onto the counter and stormed out, dragging Chloe behind him. I locked the door, my heart pounding, but I tried to brush it off. I had prep work to do. An hour later, my phone buzzed. It was an email from Marcus. "Liam, I am very sorry to hear about your family emergency. I understand you have to withdraw from the trial dinner this weekend. We will look for another vendor. Best of luck." The blood drained from my face. I stared at the screen, completely paralyzed. I dialed Marcus immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted him, begging for an explanation. A few minutes later, Marcus replied, "Your brother Chase called me. He said your mother was severely ill and you had to leave the state." I drove straight to Mom's house. Chase and Chloe were sitting at the dining table, eating takeout. Mom was in the kitchen, perfectly healthy. I slammed my phone on the table in front of Chase. "You called Marcus," I said, my voice shaking with pure fury. Chase did not even flinch. He took a bite of his food and smiled. "I had to cancel it for you," Chase said smoothly. "You were clearly too stressed to make the right choice. Now your weekend is totally free to prep the wedding food. You should be thanking me for saving you from burning out." Chloe nodded, sipping her water. "Exactly. Now we can finally focus on what actually matters." I looked at Mom, expecting her to be horrified. Instead, she looked away. "Maybe it is for the best, Liam," she whispered. "Now you can help your brother." Which brings us back to the shredded contract. I had gone home to grab the lease, desperate to show Marcus I was still committed. But Chase had followed me. He grabbed the lease off the counter and ripped it into pieces before I could stop him. "Stop being so dramatic," Chase scoffed, looking at the shredded paper on the floor. "We need a menu by tonight." I looked at my brother, then at the torn paper, and finally understood. They did not love me. They did not even respect me. I was just a resource to be consumed. I calmly walked past Chase, grabbed my professional knife roll, and slung it over my shoulder. "Where are you going?" he demanded. "We have a tasting to do." I opened the front door. "I am going to get my life back," I said. "Do not ever contact me again." I did not go to their ridiculous mountain wedding. Instead, I drove directly to Marcus's restaurant and waited outside his office for 3 hours. When he finally arrived, I explained exactly what my brother had done, showing him the threatening text from Chloe as proof. Marcus listened in utter silence. Then he smiled grimly. "I hate liars," Marcus said. "You still have the trial dinner tomorrow. Do not mess it up." I cooked the best meal of my entire life that weekend. I won the corporate contract, secured a new copy of my lease, and opened my kitchen 3 months later. I heard through the grapevine that Chase and Chloe had to serve cold deli sandwiches at their reception, and Mom is still paying off the debt. I blocked all their numbers. My kitchen is quiet, my business is booming, and I have never been happier.